Howdy folks, and welcome to the very first episode of the Redvers podcast. On today's episode I speak to the wonderful Scottish musician Pictish Trail, whose real name is Johnny Lynch.
This is the Redvers Music Podcast.
Well, howdy folks. Very exciting to get the very first episode of the podcast up and running. I'm your host, Redvers, which is my musical moniker. My real name is Justin, but I kind of don't like saying my own name because it makes me feel like I'm in trouble with myself. Plus, I'm sitting in a room right now all alone, and it's probably a good thing I don't have a mirror in front of me because that could get a little awkward. But on today's podcast, I speak to the great Scottish musician Pictish Trail, aka Johnny Lynch. I was able to sit down with Johnny before a gig he played locally to where I live at the moment in England a little while ago, and he was gracious enough to give me almost an hour of his time before he went up on stage. And we had a great chat, and I hope you enjoy it. I'll play it for you in a couple of minutes, but just to introduce myself a little bit more, I'm sure that you'll get to know me a bit more as time unfolds over the podcast and the conversations I have. But I'm an Australian musician. I moved over to England about 3.5 years ago. I'm living at the moment in the northwest of England in an area called the Lake District, and it's a stunning place, beautiful countryside. And finally, actually, the bloody weather's turning. It's definitely spring is in the air, which is a godsend because the winter that's just passed seems to have dragged on for months on end. Never thought it would end. But finally the sun's out, and it's a bloody good thing because it was getting a little depressing. But yeah, the idea behind the podcast initially was to talk to other musicians and chat about the creative processes that they endure, to produce their art and performance. So I was going to call the podcast the Redvers Music Podcast, but then I realised that I could potentially pigeonhole myself there. So I want to talk to people from many walks of life, as I have many interests. So I thought that was probably the better way of doing things by calling the podcast just the Redvers Podcast, which if you're interested in being on the podcast, if you're a musician or anything, a brain surgeon or an astronaut, I doubt I'll probably talk to an astronaut. You can get in touch, send me an email at redverspodcast@gmail.com, and I'll definitely reply. And so get in touch, and we might end up having a chat. And if you want to follow me on social media, the best way to do that is probably through Instagram. That's currently the one I use the most. You can find me there with the handle at Redvers Music, and there'll be all the updates for the podcast and music I'm making and gigs and whatnot. And the podcast is actually going to be released every Tuesday from now until, I was going to say eternity, but I will not probably live forever. I assume that I will die at some stage. But yeah, it's been something I've really enjoyed doing, interviewing people. I've been throwing myself into it quite a lot, and I've loved it. So it's a nice little creative thing for me to have on the side whilst I've got music there too. And I feel like it's a different way of sort of branching out. And I'm also going to use it as education. I want to speak to, as I said, many different people, and on many different subjects, maybe even people who have ideas and beliefs that I myself don't maybe believe or agree with. But I guess that's how you grow, that's how you learn. I don't want to sort of live in an echo chamber where I'm surrounded by people who share the same beliefs as me. So hopefully I can have some interesting conversations and you guys can enjoy them. So I guess that's enough about me and the podcast for now. So sit back, enjoy. Maybe you're in the bath or you're doing something, you're working. Hopefully you're not working. Hopefully you're relaxing, or maybe going through a stroll through a forest somewhere, or who knows. I was going to say maybe you're masturbating, but I hope you're not doing that to this. Jesus, it's already begun. So without further ado, here is Johnny Lynch, whose musical name is the Pictish Trail. Enjoy the chat, and I'll speak to you after.
Joel, just checking my new postcards.
Yeah. Is that for the new single? It's just
the new single. It's just, you can have one. That's gratis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we started started a few years ago. We did a postcard series where we released singles on postcards and with download codes, and just to have some sort of physical representation of the music.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Firstly, what I was going to say was I was in a rush to leave this afternoon, so I forgot my notes.
Oh, right.
So I had to kind of rewrite some. And I thought as opposed to reading them out, I'm not too fond of that format of, I guess, the normal way of like music journalism per se, where it's just answer, question,
Yeah.
But I did think that I'd start off with this one because of your geographical location in the Isle of Egg.
Yeah.
Which is pretty well documented, I think. Have you seen the Northern Lights before?
Have I seen them? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. I'm trying to think of the last time I saw them. You kind of take it for granted when you're there.
Yeah.
So they're out all the time. I wake up in the morning and I'll see on my Facebook timeline all the other photographers on Egg.
Yeah.
Who've taken shots, and you're like, oh, God, was that last night?
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't have stayed in and watched the telly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, usually, witness them if it's like after a, clear summer night or something like that. It'll be after, after a Cayley or something.
Yeah.
Kind of 3 sheets to the wind, probably quite high, and then you look up in the sky like, oh, wow, this is like a different planet.
Jesus, yeah, I'm jealous. Because being from Australia, I mean, there is the Aurora Australis, like I guess the Southern Lights, but that's commonly seen like way far south, like the South Pole, for example, is where they see that. There has been a few instances where they've seen it in like Melbourne, like the southern area of Australia, but I'm dying to see the Northern Lights being.
Have you been up to Scotland?
I've been to Edinburgh, Oban.
All right. Okay.
And oh god, I can't remember the island just off Oban.
Just off Oban. Oh yeah.
Where the seagulls are.
There's Mull.
The Isle of Mull.
There we go.
Yeah.
That would have been really embarrassing if I can remember that.
This has been broadcast live on Scottish TV. No, I loved it. I went up there with my mum and my little sister. They all came over from Australia.
Oh man, they must have loved it.
Yeah, it was good. And I loved being on the ferry and the water. The water actually reminded me a little bit the colour of the Great Barrier Reef, oddly enough.
Oh, really? See, I've never been to your part of the world, so yeah.
No, I was surprised. I didn't anticipate the water to be so blue. That really stuck out.
It's crazy, actually. The first time I went to visit Egg, I was amazed at how clear the water was. Because, growing up on the east coast of Scotland, I grew up in Edinburgh and lived in Fife.
Aye.
Water's fucking filthy. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. An Australian and a Scotsman, we've got.
Yeah, I was going to say. After I've had one coffee now, I'm like, whoa. Yeah. It's incredible seeing that.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, right, oh, no, it can be clean.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, I mean, and oddly enough, talking about like the clarity of water, some people that I work with not too far away are like keen fishermen.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a river flowing through town, the Kent, which is supposedly the highest or the fastest rising and fastest falling river in all of the UK because of the size of the catchment area.
Right, yeah.
But there's a few old guys there who said, one in particular, on one afternoon he was able to catch 44 trout, like sea-run or sea-run salmon. That was in the 80s, and now you'd be lucky to catch like 1 or 2.
Right.
it makes me think like, I mean, I was never really one to think of the environment. I mean, of course I do, but hearing stuff like that and sort of living in this part of the world now, you think, shit, maybe it is having a bit of an impact.
Pollution is it's kind of being drilled into us at school.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really improved anything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
You see some, some water, some bodies of water in the UK can be just filthy, not very well looked after.
Talking about egg, I wanted to talk or ask you about the community on egg.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you get asked about egg every single time you get interviewed.
Yeah, it's good though. It's like it's exciting to talk about.
Yeah.
It's an island of show-offs, of which I'm probably one of the biggest.
Yeah.
So, but it's all like everyone who lives there is a massive show-off, and it's they're all incredible characters.
Yeah.
And it's great. I love chatting about them and chatting about it because they've made such an indelible impact on my life.
Yeah.
Like within a week of moving there, everyone made great effort to kind of get to know me, and like I was just visiting there, and within a week of visiting, I was pals with everyone. I knew a lot of really dark family secrets.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. And that was the interesting thing that I was thinking about, was the sense of community. Because as a touring musician yourself, I mean, in my imagination, it's like, I mean, not that you've never seen the world, I mean, that's absurd, but like you go out into the world, you tour very busy areas, and then you go back to an incredible, what I imagine to be an incredible, quiet, lovely place like Egg. And that sense of community that must exist there is, I mean, I find that quite fascinating.
It's kind of, there's something about it where, because it is such a small group of people, and we are really reliant on each other.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an element where you have to get beyond, like, you have to have some sort of feeling of humility almost to kind of be able to approach your neighbour with with a job that you can't do, or it's something that you need help with.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to sort of sacrifice all pride to some extent. And you never really you don't really ever manage to do that all the time. You're always going to carry some sense of pride and some sense of well, we're better than them, and look at the comment, like everyone does, commenting on their neighbours and comparing their own lives with neighbours.
Yeah.
But you've got to, on Egg, you have to have an open mind, and you have to accept people for who they are, because you need them. You need them to help you. You need them to help you move stuff. You need them to help volunteer with events or help with like manual work, and you need to be able to help them as well when they need your help.
Yeah.
It's pretty strong thing.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. No, I find it fascinating because I guess like looking at politics in the world and the way that things are at the moment, and sort of that thought that I have where community, a sense of community in a lot of places is practically dead and buried, where, I mean, down the track, I think that we're going to have to embrace a more communal sense of living. Do you
really think it's dead and buried?
Well,
I see people changing things. I think you have to kind of go to the murky depths and go to the lowest lows in order to pull together and make something happen. And I'm seeing communities do things all the time. It's great.
No, well, and that leads me on to like the thought that I was having, like comparing, say, that sense of community that you would experience on Egg to the music community, which you are heavily entrenched in. I mean, you run Lost Map, and you've got yourself. I think that, I mean, the differences sort of can't be too dissimilar between the two.
From the very first days of me starting doing music as a profession, as a thing, as a profession, just as part of my life, I was I was part of a musical collective. I wanted to be. In fact, before I ever became Pictish Trail, I knew that I wanted to be part of a collective. There was a collective called the Fence Collective in Fife where I was studying. And I was just in awe of it. I kind of thought, just seeing this thing where you'd have a rotating cast of players, each taking the centre spot every so often to do their own song, and people helping out, and someone playing bass 1 minute and then playing the drums the next.
Yeah.
And swapping instruments around and helping a song come together.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a really powerful thing. It sounds like I'm a total hippie.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm wearing a bloody C&D badge from Green Man Festival of all places. Actually.
Right on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just kind of strength in numbers. You know, there's it's something that can be easily forgotten. And yeah, so it's been a big part of my identity. I'm not really a particularly well-trained musician, and I find I even sort of wince to kind of describe myself as that, because I can't, you know, anything I play that's about as much as I can play. I can't do covers, I can't do
me too.
fret wanking, I can't do anything showy.
It might not be a good idea to fret wanking in post Harvey Weinstein era. Could be
post Louis C.K.
which kind of destroyed me a bit, but
oh man, this
because I really like him. I mean, I like his comedy. I mean,
it's fun. I mean, what's ironic about it is that so much of his comedy sort of references that kind of behaviour and that sort of embarrassing, like, oh man, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Very odd.
Yeah.
But in terms of music, I can't, you know, I'm not someone I've never studied an instrument, or I'm quite lazy in that respect, but I don't think it matters. I think if you want to be involved in music, the best way to get involved is to work with other musicians and to help their thing along and have them help and invite them to help you.
Yeah.
It's really important.
I think it is, I mean, especially, I mean, I can only speak about myself, like the current situation where, you know, as a pure solo artist, I'm trying to sort of getting to know more people around the local scene and stuff like that. But I think being a product of your environment, or surrounding yourself with, you know, musicians, or if you're an artist or a photographer, as many of those people as you can. And because I can be the laziest shit on earth, I mean, without a fucking doubt. And to have that backing would be brilliant, you know. And
is there much of a scene here where that can happen?
I won't say no. I'd say yes. Especially in Lancaster, actually. I think there's a collective of people that a few of them work here. Timekeeper Presents is what they're called, and they put on a few nights in Lancaster, sort of once every sort of fortnight. To me, I mean, I can only go off what they look like. They look quite a few young kids, I guess, out of uni. I'm only 33, so I say young as in like maybe 21, 22, but
you don't look a day past 32, honey.
Yeah, Christ. But no, I'm envious of that, like that experience that you had. I think it would be unbelievable. Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing in Fife, and at that time it was incredible, and it was like a little secret almost.
Yeah.
Like it kind of existed just as the internet was starting, and like there was a message board that we had on our website. There was a time when you could only order things by check, by sending a check in the post and stuff. And it seemed like it was a sort of, you know, you had to make an effort to kind of find out about it. And and making that effort is actually part of the appeal. Like the music is a big part of it as well. Your music can't be terrible, but like if you make an effort to find out about something, then that, you know, that journey is part of the appeal of the music. I think.
No, my girlfriend actually studied at St Andrews.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, and you did too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What did you study?
My first year I studied English, Lit, psychology and mathematics.
Yeah.
And by the end of the first year I gave up mathematics. And by the end of second year I gave up psychology. Yeah. So it's just English Lit at the end.
Yeah. Oh, sweet.
I got really immersed in the sort of music thing there, and I was running a sort of club night where I was DJing and stuff. And I was kind of more into. It took me a while to realise that was kind of what university was about, really.
Yeah. So is that the point where you decided, like, during uni, that you wanted to pursue music?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of went to that university because I was a massive fan of the Beta Band.
Yeah.
And I was living in America beforehand. My parents had moved overseas. And I knew that I wanted to get back to Scotland. And this local record store owner in the States was like, oh, you know, where are you thinking of going for college? When we were kids, we all wanted to go to Athens, Georgia, because that's where R.E.M. were from. And we wanted to go where our favourite band was from. And he's like, who's your favourite band? Like, the beta band. It's like, you should just go to where they're from. So I did. And then within a week, I sort of found the fence thing.
Yeah.
And that was all related to that scene. And it was just like mind-blowing.
Yeah. Sweet.
And I just knew from that point onwards, I wanted to be doing music, really.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I guess leading on from that, I wanted to sort of touch on lyrics briefly. Well, having studied English lit,
Oh God.
what informs your lyrics? We touched on politics and egg. Are those the sort of influences that impact on what flows out of you, I guess?
Yeah. It's just hard to pinpoint what it is with lyrics. You can't.
Yeah.
I don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like whenever I'm asked about how do I write songs, it's a hard one to describe, as I'm sure it'll be, as it is for anyone, I guess.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where I kind of feel like the song is already written. I'm just trying to remember it.
Yeah.
And so in the process of writing it, I'm trying to remember how did that go? How should this go?
Yeah.
And it's kind of piecing it together like that.
Yeah.
So which sounds really airy-fairy now that I say it out loud, but it's an intangible thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me because there's so many people, and myself included, who want to find out what that thing is and how does a song come together, and what is the ingredient that makes it happen. And you can, I have written songs about specific subjects in the past.
Yeah.
But usually it'll kind of stem from, like, I'll have a line in my head or something that I want to sing or something that I feel like I want to express.
Yeah.
And then that'll kind of that'll either be a chorus or maybe just a line. It might even be one word in a song.
Yeah.
The song Rhombus kind of came from that. And then it just sort of jigsawed itself together.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily always makes for the most lyrically coherent songs, but then I don't really like lyrically coherent songs anyway. It feels like I'm listening to, a bloody novel, something like that.
Yeah.
I kind of want, I like stuff that is a little more fractured and disparate. I kind of like, one of my favourite lyricists is Beck.
Yeah.
Because there is a sort of real collage to how he puts stuff together. It really feels like stuff's been thrown together, and there's layers of words that kind of make a sort of oral painting.
Yeah.
David Bowie's the same.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. It's the way that Christ, I can't remember his name. Fucking hell.
Who's that?
I've already had 2 beers. Beck.
Beck Hansen. Yeah.
One of his albums, now I can't remember the name of the album, which is very convenient. I've got it on my phone.
Do you know what songs are on it?
It's the one that was live. He essentially played it.
Oh. Is it One Foot in the Grave? That one?
No. Christ. It's embarrassing.
Is it Mutations? Or is it maybe the one that's Sea Change?
Sea Change.
There we go.
I was going to say Changes, but that was Bowie. Yeah. Sea Change.
Record.
Yeah. It's interesting, because he chose to do that with a live band. Essentially, it's a live album. But to listen to the production value as well, on top of his lyrics and his music, the production value on his albums, it blows my mind because the sounds are just so perfect.
Have you heard that Mutations record?
I don't think I have.
It was an album that came after Odally and before Midnight Vultures, and it was a record where he just decided to go into a studio. I think he wasn't even planning to make an album.
Yeah.
He'd been touring with musicians. He thought, let's just go in and try something out. And it is it's a lot of live playing. In fact, it might all be live playing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Nigel Godrich produced it,
right. Yeah.
and it's just absolutely incredible. And it's coming after a record that was so cut and paste.
Yeah.
Where Odally, which was all amazing for that, and the production that the Dust Brothers did in that record and how he put the songs together and all that sort of stuff is totally amazing. And then you hear this record that's like a live band, you're like, holy shit, this guy's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He's totally incredible. I'm a big fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So lyrically, I'm a big fan of his too.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I know what you mean by lyrics, and you sort of touched on the fact of that notion of sort of not knowing where it comes from, that flow, or it just appears. Because I was going to ask you about say spirituality or God, a belief. I mean, I'm not very religious. I'm not religious at all. I'm not a member of any denomination whatsoever. But I do have a belief in God, I guess. And I think sometimes the only way that I can sort of explain the way that certain things happen, say lyrics, for example, or a song. I mean, I shouldn't be capable of writing music. I mean, I've not. Well, in saying that, like, I've not trained in anything. You know, I've taught myself how to
look like a musician, like you bloody well.
Well, there's enough. Yeah, we've got enough beard here to go around all the place.
There's plenty of beard.
But no, it's interesting. I just find that sometimes, you know, maybe you're on a certain path where all the elements are just there to sort of, they connect together, and that's just it, you know, because I like listening to writers like, you know, novelists and musicians and stuff try and talk about that process, because, I mean, I've only experienced it sort of minimally, but, you know, and I find the whole process fascinating, you know.
I think it's, I've been chatting about this a lot with my friend John. I believe in God as well. I was brought up a Catholic, but I'm not a part of that church or any church. Gave all that. That's not really. I'm not into religion at all. But I do have a belief in that, in God, insofar as that there's too many things that are unexplainable, and so I kind of just, it's human nature, I think, to try and make sense of the world. And so my feeling about that is that okay, all that stuff that can't be explained is due to this thing, whatever that is. And I don't know if that's a being or a presence. I don't know. I don't even care what it is. But there's something that's pulling all this stuff together, and it's unexplainable. My partner, and actually a lot of my friends give me a lot of stick for that. They're like, "Well, it doesn't sound like you believe in anything." I'm like, I don't. But that's what I believe in. The fact that there is an unnameable thing that kind of connects all these things together. Maybe I just did too much acid.
I've not tried it. I've not tried acid. I've not tried mushrooms, but I've been informed of someone who I am interested in meeting in Ireland, who does like mushroom tours, I guess, into forests. And
sounds dangerous. You never come back.
I mean, with my imagination, it could be very dangerous, but at the same time, from what I've been told, it's not large doses, so you're not going to sort of transport into
like the mushrooms. Oh man, mushrooms are hilarious.
So I mean, I'm very keen to do that, but also because I listened to a podcast with a mycologist, a very famous like fungus expert. And he was talking about like medicinal benefits, not necessarily with psilocybin mushrooms, but just mushrooms in general. But he was talking about magic mushrooms, and there is a lot of research going into them at the moment, even in London. I can't remember the name of the university, but it's all sounding fairly beneficial to a lot of people, you know. And it's really piquing my interest, I must say.
Come up to Egg, try some mushrooms.
Bloody hell. But, and I guess what we were talking about before, like things informing lyrics, I did want to touch slightly on politics. I guess we already have slightly, but... I mean, being Scottish, I wanted to ask you about the Scottish referendum and Brexit, because, I mean, obviously I'm not English, so I do feel like I can sort of sit in England and sort of watch things from afar, you know, and it does fascinate me. Things feel quite volatile. But what were your feelings on the Scottish referendum?
I mean, I really wanted independence to happen. I really wanted it, and now I want it more than ever. So it's a bit of a blow. I think, in a weird way, the Scottish referendum vote, kind of the sort of disappointment I felt that morning when I saw the result, kind of, you know, softened the blow, cushioned the blow for when the Brexit thing happened, because I was like, oh, of course, of course that fucking happened. And I had a lot of English and Welsh friends who were just completely flabbergasted with how the Brexit thing went, and I was like, look, don't worry, like, you know, it was a close vote. It was a really close vote, and I think anything that close, There has to be. It's so divisive.
Yeah.
And it really feels like we felt like we were all living in a different country, and one that we weren't aware of.
Yeah.
When there, when there's a slight majority of people who think completely differently to you.
Yeah.
Or that's certainly how it felt.
Yeah.
Scottish independence, I want it, and I kind of now more than ever I want it. I want Scotland to be part of the EU. I want us to. I was chatting to my friend John about this earlier on. We've been doing a lot of chats on tour.
Yeah.
And he brought up how this other musician who we know had tweeted about in the run up to Brexit how he couldn't in all consciousness vote to remain as part of the EU because he voted to separate Scotland from the UK, so he should, it should be complete freedom. And I was like, well, the Scottish vote is different though. That was about we were being run by a Tory government, which we did not elect at all.
No.
And it just struck me as like we needed to be in charge of our own thing. But the EU is something that is for everyone. It's for everyone's benefit. It's like a collective thing that's for everyone's good.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to leave the UK really. Like I'd be separate from England, but I want Scotland to be able to have its own laws and and to have which it does to some extent with the devolved parliament. But I certainly don't want fucking Theresa May telling us what to do and being in charge of the books. I think it's all horrible. Their whole austerity plan over the last however fucking long it's been has been crippling. And that whole austerity programme is why Brexit happened. It's why people feel disenfranchised. It's why people are really pissed off. And they want to make change. And so you give them the button. They can't change the government because there's too many Tory strongholds in England. And so what do they do? Well, you gave them a button and they wanted to press it. And so they fucking did, and they fucking voted in Trump for the same reason.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, and it's interesting. Like the UK, essentially, England. I mean, that's the only thing I can go off of. But the austerity program, it's kind of like what I've been witnessing lately is a form of living poverty, and I think that it almost seems to be entrenched in the UK culture where. You have, I think it was over 5 million council houses around the UK and, in England, I think, just alone. And there seems to be this culture of people who are sort of born into maybe a state of poverty or like a thought state of poverty where you can just rely on the state. And, I mean, I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but essentially what I do see is a government who are... I don't know if it would be on purpose, but they are suppressing the people. And it interests me from a music standpoint because I think maybe with modern technology, we could record an album on this little recorder here. Will we see like another rise of like a form of punk, like a real...
Form of what?
Like a form of punk rock.
Oh, punk, right, yeah.
But then I was thinking, well, maybe that's... the new like grime or hip hop, maybe it already exists, maybe it just hasn't gone mainstream yet. Well, I say mainstream, it has gone mainstream.
I think punk, for me, punk seemed to be all about DIY, doing your own thing and kind of, and working collectively, but kind of like, kind of making something happen on your own steam. And I think that definitely carries through to today. You see a lot of DIY collectives and people putting on events and and all that sort of stuff. There is a definite circuit and a real thing that exists. Yeah,
because in my head, like I've been to Manchester quite a few times, and you see the bands that came out of Manchester in these bleak periods throughout history, and you think that form of oppression that was occurring at that time. Brought into the world, I think, a lot of this music, and I'm interested to see what happens over the next couple of years, especially here. I think it's...
Well, this is a really interesting area, man. This is like, I'm sure there was a strong Brexit vote in parts of this area. We played in Morecambe last year, and I think that was a Brexit time, but there was a part of my show that I was like, bringing it up.
Yeah.
And it was like the one town on the tour that we were playing in where it went, it was Mexico, and I knew it was as well.
Yeah.
But the people who were there didn't vote for it.
Yeah. No.
At the show.
Yeah.
But they were living in a town where it was happening. We just played in Hartlepool, on the East Coast, Northeast, and it's the same.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, so how did Brexit go for you guys? Oh, fuck, and they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
It's on your doorstep, it's happening here, but then these are towns that have been largely disregarded. They're forgotten about. Barrow and Furness is quite near here, isn't it? That's another one.
It is, yeah. It's out in the sticks, and you're right. I mean,
you go through these places, they're fucking ghost towns, and they're like, you can see the relics of what was once a bustling, booming community. Amazing huge houses by the sea that are all derelict and completely empty, and like. Just with 3 or 4 decades worth of being ignored, but people still live in these towns, and they're not, there's no money going into them, and so these people are forgotten about.
No, especially like Barrow and Furness, where they have a BAE factory where they produce the nuclear subs.
Right, yeah.
So that's the main employer in the whole town, and I mean it is an interesting place. I mean. It does, it visibly appears like a low socioeconomic area, but then you have the people working in the BAE factory who earn really good money, and it's just a really strange dichotomy, it really is quite interesting. But to get onto a lighter note, I was going to touch on,
Well, I was going to say with Brexit thing, my songs aren't overtly political. They tend to be usually about some personal thing. And on my last record, it was a lot about a friendship ending. Yeah. And sort of anger and all that sort of stuff. Trying to deal with those emotions. And there was a lot of that in the songs. Yeah. But there's one song in the set called Half-Life, which is specifically about this relationship ending. And but when I perform it, it's kind of taken on sort of new resonance over the last few years with all the sort of referendums that we've had about how things dividing and decaying. Yeah. The song's got a chorus that goes, "We will always decay," and I think no matter how much something splits and divides, there's always something left from the original. So it can, things can continually decay and continually divide. There will always be a little bit of that thing left, and that's something that's can't forget about. Yeah,
no, I think you're right, and I think at the present moment you have all these sex scandals coming out, like the Harvey Weinstein and people like that, Louis C.K. And I think I was talking to my sister about it. Maybe what we're seeing is like the changing of the guard, or a changing of the guard, where these guys are from an older generation where, you could go to work and slap a girl on the ass. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that. And
a guy came up to my show and grabbed my ass yesterday. It was a guy who I knew, but I was kind of like, really, in this climate? He was going to come out of the blue and grab. I was like...
Yeah.
I was quite shook up about it.
No. Well, it's because it's interesting, like you have our generation of people, and I think it's a very interesting generation. I think people tout us as sort of being lazy bastards who are, skiving off of bloody the government and all that, but I think it's bullshit, I think we're good people. I think it is a generation of good people who want to see positive change.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're seeing these guys getting outed, which is a good thing, whether their comedy is good or not. But
I saw a thing, listening to a thing recently where Sarah Pascoe was being interviewed by Richard Herring. Yeah. I'm a big fan of his podcast. Did you listen to that?
I saw you recommend it, and I've written it down, so I have to listen to it.
It's really good. It's quite irreverent, and he's pretty filthy. Yeah. But it's a really funny podcast. He's incredible, and she was on it, and he was kind of in sort of despair as to what was happening, in the world, and all the sort of how everything sort of seems to be cataclysmic, and and she was like, well, and I'm totally going to misquote her and probably not get across the point she was making, but she was just saying, things aren't really. Things are, bad things are happening, but we're aware of them more because the volume is turned up on everything. Yeah. So we're constantly bombarded with, Twitter feeds, and everyone now has a voice, and everyone's voice is now able to be heard.
Yeah.
But there's good stuff happening, and good changes happening, and society is changing, and society is kind of like, so all the sex scandal stuff now that's happening. Yeah, it's totally horrific, but it's happening, and there's a generation now who are being exposed to that for the first time, and being made aware of it for the first time, and being made aware that this isn't tolerated.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a good thing.
That's an interesting point of view, actually, because I was going to touch on the fact that you're a father, and I mean, I don't have kids, so it's interesting to see that angle, because I hadn't thought of it that way, the exposure to a new generation. But of course, that's, I guess, because I don't have to think about children just yet.
Well, and
but it's
growing up, our generation was sort of told, don't smoke and don't pollute and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, pollution and all that sort of still happens, but we're definitely more eco and green conscious than we've ever been. The recycling happens, and in Scotland there's all sorts of renewable energies happening, and Egg, for example, is an island that runs completely off of renewable energy, and it generates its own electricity. And so, that's just from when I was a kid, all this change has happened, and so now I think with society and people kind of realizing, that there's people of all different genders now, and there's a real spectrum of stuff, and people have to have an awareness and respect for all of that. And that's I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Unfortunately, it just means we have to dig up all the shit. To expose why change needs to happen.
I think we'll probably see far more upheaval occurring. It's almost like a snake shedding its skin. It's going to happen. It has to happen, I guess. And it kind of feels good. Or I'm excited to be there. As a young person, it's quite exciting. But you mentioned Sarah Pascoe, and I wanted to touch on comedy, because the first time I saw you were opening for Josie Long.
Oh, right. Cool,
in
man.
Kendall. Yeah. And
shit. When was that?
That was like 2015, I think. Late. Must have been like
it was like March.
December or... was it?
Yeah, I mean,
it could have been
like March, April, I think, of 2015.
That's right, yeah.
Where was it in Kendall again?
The Brewery Arts Centre.
Because we played Newcastle, Kendall, and then did a bunch of Scottish dates.
Yeah.
God.
Did
we chat that night then?
No.
All right, okay.
No. It was some other bloke with a beard.
No, I just want to make sure.
No.
Hellish for doing that.
No, it was good, and I really enjoyed your performance, and I noted how funny you were on stage, and how it was a natural comedy.
Thanks, man.
Cheers. Yeah, it came across as a natural comedy. I mean, I assume that you've got a very good sense of humour.
I did a bit of stand-up when I was a student, and there was a group of us who would put on a show every so often, and we would write shows together and sort of support each other. So kind of like the music thing, there was a sort of little collective going on. That was a lot more ego-driven. But I kind of, after at my final year at university, we did a show, and then I kind of knew after that, I was like, actually, this is I can't do comedy as a profession. You can't break. You have to be really sharp and on it all the time, really, to kind of do a proper show. But if I can work a few bits of material into the music set, and because people aren't expecting to laugh, it kind of that plays to my advantage, I think.
It was good, because you played a few of the 30-second songs.
That's right.
And I bought the tape.
Oh, brilliant!
And I thought it was hilarious.
Thanks, man.
And it was good. But I'm going to be interviewing a friend who's a comedian in Ireland soon, and it's funny how you say you have to be sharp, because I was with him the night when he was performing and in Dublin, and he was going over his material in his head just before he was going on stage, and I could see that he was nervous, as he would be, and it made me nervous. I was like, fuck, it's having played solo gigs with a guitar, you can kind of, your energy can be taken out on the guitar, whereas just having a mic and playing jokes, saying jokes, I'd find it rough, but it would be interesting to do.
It's funny because I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, and there's one called The Comedian's Comedian. And who was on it recently? There was someone on it recently. Oh, actually, it was Stuart Goldsmith, who's the presenter, talking about, he was chatting to this other comedian.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he did this show, and he had some material that would work every night. Whenever he played it would always kind of go off, and he did it in one room and just didn't work. And he was like, actually, it's the audience's fault.
Yeah.
This material is good.
Yeah.
And I delivered it in exactly the same way that I always do. So sometimes even when you've got like stuff that's surefire, you can just get a bad room.
Yeah. It would be interesting. It would be, I can imagine that telling a joke and then receiving a quiet room would be like a peak. The adrenaline, I imagine, would sort of shoot up instantly. But
I mean, I've done plenty of shows where I've tried some of the funny stuff and it's gone really bad. I mean, God, it could go badly tonight. I think the weird thing is with music, you can get away with it a little bit. You can kind of go, okay, well, let's just ignore that and here's a song.
Yeah. No. But if I can just touch on now your work ethic, because I assume that you would be a very busy person running a label, and also, having these people under your wing who you do in Lost Map. What drives you? Like, what do you have sort of set patterns or things like that?
Not really. I've got good people who I work with. My friend Kate, who's my best friend, she runs the label with me. She's based in Edinburgh. She's in a band.
Yeah. And
I think it's just that acknowledgement of like wanting to support each other's thing, and sometimes you have to remind yourself of that.
Yeah.
But it's also the easiest thing in the world. Like, there's nothing I like better than like helping my friends with their music, because I'm lucky that all the music that I work with my friends is music that I really love.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of why I love them.
Yeah.
But it's the easiest thing in the world. It's the best feeling in the world when you can go to someone and go, you should check out this person's music. They're one of my friends. They're really great, and the music is incredible.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling, and it's a nice. Probably not really clarifying it with words properly, but it's that, I guess, untouchable thing. I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just. I'm just a really big music fan.
Yeah.
I really and I love seeing ways people express themselves in different ways, and I love all the different manifestations of that.
Yeah.
And I like getting excited with my friends about their music, and I like making them feel excited about it.
Yeah.
It's really infectious.
Yeah.
Like that sort of spirit doesn't really ever go away. You see a lot of folk who are kind of like, they get to a certain age and all they listen to is the music that they listened to when they were a teenager and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but you're like, they'll complain, music's not as good nowadays, or it's not as good as it once was. It's like, no, there's just more. There's more stuff.
Yeah.
And that stuff that you like, that still exists.
Yeah.
But there's some, like, of course there's amazing music out there.
Yeah.
Of course there's like incredible things being made.
Yeah.
You just have to find it. And actually that journey of like the experience of trying to find something and relating to something, that is the effort that you make to do that. Is part of the enjoyment of it.
Yeah. No, I find that, like YouTube, for example, I think is the largest music search engine now, but that's where I discover a lot of new music. And when you do make a new discovery and it's a great song, and it hits you, I think this is amazing, And I have a tendency to obsess, so I will listen to the same shit for like 10 years. I had the same cassettes in my car in Australia since I had my car, which until I left, until I sold it, and it was like Cream, Hendrix, and
classic. Yeah.
But it was just every day I listened to the same thing, and now because I was into a lot of old stuff, the importance of finding new music, which I'm enjoying, I think it's just a part of sort of getting older or realising that obviously there's so much music, and we live in an age where the discovery of new music, the potential to do that is, you could find a new band every 30 seconds if you tried.
Yeah, totally. And something that you probably would be really into.
Yeah.
They've got like these I've got Apple Music and
Yeah.
Lost Map. I've got a Spotify account,
Yeah.
and they have these playlists that they put together that are custom built on your listening preferences.
Yeah.
And I'm always really skeptical of them, but I
Yeah.
always find something I fucking love.
Yeah.
It really annoys me. I'll listen to something, I'm like, I do like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really annoying. Damn you. What's it? Algorithms. That's the word. Yeah. They're good, those algorithms.
Oh, bloody hell. No, I won't keep you too much longer, mate. But speaking of...
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, speaking of like Spotify and digital music, I did want to ask you about the impact of digital music that you've seen, because what you've been involved in labels like, was it Fence since, was it 2003?
2002, 2003, yeah.
Which was sort of, I guess, just a couple of years after Napster. What impact have you seen, like, I guess that's a pretty broad question, but like, I guess say with someone like Chance the Rapper, who is totally independent and gives his digital music away for free.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a label, so how do you approach it? Like, how do you approach, say, digital music, for example? Because I understand that vinyl would sell very well.
Yeah, it does all right. I mean, I kind of learned a long time ago that I cannot make money out of selling other people's music.
Yeah.
That won't happen. And so with Lost Map, I run it as a business, but I don't pay myself anything from it.
Yeah.
I should really set up the business a bit better
Yeah.
for that. But, and it's all the other things that we do as a collective that kind of that help it to run. So we put on events where we run our own bar, and that helps pay for a lot of things that go in throughout the year and stuff.
Yeah.
But with the music thing, my sort of main aim is just for everything to kind of cover its costs.
Yeah.
And hopefully help the career of the person who's making the music, whether they want it to be something that they can make a living off of, or if it's something that they want to just reach an audience for, a wider audience with. So my feelings on digital stuff initially were kind of a bit like, I was a big consumer of Napster, but I knew what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I knew, like, when I was downloading stuff that it was illegal, and so I still bought stuff I bought tons of records out of guilt.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays there's this thing with Spotify and Apple Music and all these subscription services that if you pay your £10, there's a feeling of entitlement amongst an audience now. And actually, I've had people come up to me being quite angry, going, "Why is this album not on Spotify?" And I'm like, "Well, because I've chosen not to put that one up there."
Yeah.
But I've paid my £10.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're aghast that they've paid this money and they expect this thing for free.
Yeah.
It does get on my nerves quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think people are still just getting used to it, and I think we're kind of getting to a point now where we are seeing revenue come through from Spotify for certain artists.
Yeah.
We've got an act called Rosie Plain who's been doing really well actually off of Spotify plays, and it doesn't form a significant part of her income, but it forms part of her income. There is like income there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And it's something we've just had to embrace, because that's just what happens. And so we have gone into it with the spirit of sharing music and the spirit of like wanting people to listen to things. But we still make vinyl, and we put our all into making the vinyl look and sound as good as we can. I still make, like, so I've got this postcard thing here, and that's just a way for us to kind of put out a single track, maybe with an exclusive remix or something like that. And the tracks that you get in the postcard, the B-sides, as they would once be called, they're exclusive to that download code on the postcard. You can't get that anywhere else. So that some tracks aren't available on Spotify. That annoys people too. I quite like annoying people. But I think it means for those people who have bought it and have spent money and have made the effort, they're rewarded with something. And I think it's my philosophy now with the label is to reward people who want to spend money on the thing.
No, I think it's an interesting thing, or an interesting way of doing it, because I think you're right. Like, you see people at merch desks and stuff. I mean, they're already wearing a band T-shirt, but they're buying another one, And with the increase in the sale of vinyl, I mean, I don't even have an LP player, and I have been buying a couple of vinyl records for when I do have an LP player. But it's interesting because I guess, like, say, the influence of like Instagram and like media and sort of music culture, but the visual representation of music culture with like hip hop or like the Taylor Swifts of the world, you know. I think there's this idea in people's minds where I'm going to be a musician, I'm going to earn thousands of pounds a week, you know. And I don't think it's true, you know. And I think a lot of people get scared off when they realise, shit, I'm only getting 60 quid for this gig, you know. That's all part of the process, I think.
It's persisting. I mean, if it's something you want to do, I mean, it sounds a bit self-righteous to say it's a vocation, but you know, I'm not doing this for the money. Although I am doing it for the money. I'm doing it as a career so I can live. I'm lucky enough that all the work I put into Lost Map, even though I don't pay myself from it, it's meant that I have been able to make a career as Pictish Trail. I do make a living. My living is basically as Pictish Trail, so selling my records and doing shows and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And that is, I don't think I would be able to do that if I hadn't put all that time into Lost Map, and if I didn't continue to do that. I mean, that's part of my musical identity, is the stuff that I do and the way that I try and help other artists. Yeah. And I think that's kind of something I would recommend to other musicians, is that if you invest your time and effort and money into helping a scene survive and helping other people sing along, your own thing will do really well. Like, it will feed off that. People will want your thing to succeed. And it sounds like I've planned all that. I found that out by accident in a weird way. But it's something I believe strongly in. I probably spend most of my time doing Lost Map stuff more than Pictish Trail stuff. And my partner is constantly like, "Oh, you should be spending more time doing Pictish Trail things." I'm like, well, actually, the two go hand in hand. And there's just more shit to do with Lost Map, more admin. No, well, it's funny you say that, because you've recently signed with Fire Records. And is that one of the main reasons why, like, to separate Pictish Trail from Lost Map so you can focus more time? Kind of. It's also just because they're nice people. Like, they're just really interesting to me. Like, I met them, the guy sort of offered, he was like, "Would you want to sign to our label?" And I was like, well, why not? I mean, I've worked with other labels before. I worked with Moshi Moshi. And
so have you toured Japan with Moshi Moshi?
No. They just got a Japanese name. They're from London.
I'm mistaken. There is a Japanese label. It's not Moshi Moshi, obviously, but no.
Oh, they might have a thing over there. Moshi Moshi are really interesting. But see, so I learned a lot from Moshi Moshi, from them releasing a Pictish Trail record. I did an album called Silver Columns as well with my friend Adam. And Moshi Moshi released that, and that was really, I learned so much about how about running a label and being involved in music from what they were doing. And I realised it was so similar to what I was doing already. And actually, everything was really like quite loose. There wasn't some, they weren't really a big business, despite the fact they kind of appeared as like they had massive acts, They signed Hot Chip, they put out their first record, Florence and the Machine, Block Party, they were like the tastemaker label. And it was all just kind of a couple of friends working together, and hardly any proper contracts and everything done totally on a shoestring. And it's just, with Fire, it's a different thing again, but I thought this is just going to be, it's good for me to see how someone else does it. And how I can be involved with that, and maybe I can help them as much as they can help me. So
it would be a good influence to see that, or to be a part of that, and then to implement that yourself.
I think that working with Fire is definitely going to inform how stuff happens with Lost Map. They'll open new doors, hopefully, and it'll make, if more people are aware of Pictish Trail, then hopefully more people become aware of Lost Map. And so I think it all works for the good. Works for the good. There's no better feeling when an act from Lost Map goes onto another label, particularly a bigger label. We just had an act called Seamus Fogarty, who is an incredible songwriter from Ireland but lives in London, and he just got signed to Domino.
Yeah,
and
I read about that. Yeah,
and when that happened, I was just like, that is fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
that is absolutely amazing. Like that is just. That's why I do it, is for that thing to happen, and it happened.
It's huge. Yeah, Domino Records. Christ.
Oh man, it's brilliant. Yeah. And Domino are people who we've worked with in the past as well, and they're all really amazing music enthusiasts and really exciting people to be around. So.
No, it would be a good vibe to be around, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Just quickly, one last thing before I let you go. Future Echoes. You recorded that down in London, did you? With the sound that you achieved on that compared to your other albums, where I think I read that it's more DIY, where you record a lot of it on Egg.
Yeah.
What's coming next? Is there
I shouldn't say this because I'm just signed to Fire.
Yeah.
And they're probably expecting me to have like the whole thing done by this point. I honestly don't know. Yeah. And I've put aside a lot of time to do writing and demoing on Egg. I've got, since the last record, I've now got a house and I've got like a wee studio space. Yeah. And so it's going to be a whole new approach to doing stuff. I'm going to have like an actual dedicated space. So I'm kind of excited to see what comes out of that. Yeah. I think I'll invite people up and we might collaborate and do stuff there. Yeah. And then I really loved doing the album the way the last one was done. So I got to write some ideas on Egg, travel down to my friend's house. We're in a tiny room, about a third of the size of this. Yeah. And just, coming up with ideas as to make the songs. And then I would take the fragments of those songs back to Egg and think about them, and not even do any more recording, just kind of think about, how could this change? And so the next time I was back in the studio with Adam or Rob, all those ideas just came out, and the music was kind of made in the moment. Yeah. It's great. I'd like to do that sort of thing again, I think. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I mean, we've barely touched on a lot of the questions I've got, but it feels...
I'm sorry, I chat.
No, it's good, because I was thinking, is this going to just be like a, question, answer, but
it's been a nice conversation.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it, mate. Thanks a lot for giving me your time. And,
no worries,
much appreciated.
Cool, man.
And I
hope you enjoyed the show.
Yeah, no, it should be good. I mean, compared to the last two, I mean, I know what to... Well, I was going to say I know what to expect. I don't.
Yeah.
But
probably the same shit jokes.
No, I'm looking forward to the the toned down version,
cool.
versions of the songs of Future Echoes.
It's been really fun doing them in this new way. It's been like really exciting. Yeah, it's nice. It just feels cozier and more intimate. It kind of keeps me on my toes a bit more. I'm kind of, because normally I've been playing with a 5-piece band for the past year. And not having to do much, I can concentrate on singing. Whereas now I've got like a million different things to do. Yeah. So I'm usually a bit panicked. It's quite good to throw yourself into the deep end sometimes.
Yeah. Do you get nervous before a gig? Anymore?
For certain gigs, you'll kind of be like, oh shit, this is happening. But no, I just get really excited about the possibilities of it and seeing what can happen and what could potentially go wrong. Yeah.
It is one of those situations. I mean, people talk about being in the present moment, say like meditation, or always try and be present. And I feel like when you play live, that's one of those things, you are putting yourself in a situation where you are living exactly in the moment. I mean, you're in control of certain things, but you're not in control of probably 99% of what happens. And I like that. I like the feeling of letting go.
It's exhilarating. The things I worry about are loading, parking the car, making sure everyone in the band is happy, and loading out and making sure that my friend Suze, who plays in the band, she really loves getting to her bed. So it's like, that's the shit I worry about. The gig, I never worry about. So I just think, that's the fun bit. This is the good bit.
Sweet. Looking forward to it, mate. And,
thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that.
Cool, no worries.
So that was it. That was the chat with Pictish Trail, Johnny Lynch. I hope you enjoyed that. I had a really great time sitting down and having a chat with Johnny. He's a really funny guy, and he's a fantastic performer. If you can go out and see him, if you ever see that he's playing locally or whatnot, please make the effort to go and see him, because he's a fantastic musician and his performances are so good. and he is a really funny guy. He's almost a comedian when he's, the banter back and forth with the crowd is just hilarious. I've seen him a couple of times now, and yeah, hopefully in the future I might be able to have another chat and catch up at some stage. But if you'd like to check out his record label, Lost Map, I highly recommend you do. He's got a stable of amazing musicians there. Go to lostmap.com, and to find Johnny's music, go to pictishtrail.co.uk. That's PICTISH trail.co.uk, and follow him on social media as well. He's always got quite funny updates on Instagram, and you can follow him on Twitter and Instagram with the handle @Pictish Trail. I highly suggest you check him out. Send him some love. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the very first episode. Don't forget, every Tuesday this is going to be coming out now. I'll be uploading it onto iTunes. That's Tuesday GMT time, so I'll probably upload it before I head off to work every Tuesday morning. So I guess I know a lot of people back home in Australia, so that'll probably be Tuesday night, ready for you guys to listen to on your long commutes or your long walks, go to the gym, whatever it is you do. I hope you enjoyed the first episode as much as I enjoyed making it. Please get in touch. If you've got any questions or you want a shout out, send me an email at redverspodcast@gmail.com. Alright folks, that's it for now. Peace.